Hey guys, before we get going with the video, I just want to apologize for the audio. Somehow it got desynced as the video was going on. I don't know how that happened, and I don't know how to fix it. So again, sorry about that. I did it, guys. I've become the Dragon Quest registered trademark 11S Echoes of an Elusive Age registered trademark dash definitive edition, and I have some thoughts. This was my first time playing a Dragon Quest game. I believe 11 is the first one to release since I started playing JRPGs. Not entirely sure though. And for a first impression, it was good. I don't think it has too many massive flaws. It was fine. My biggest issues with it are the soundtrack, a glitch I encountered with it, and that it doesn't go far enough on certain concepts. Starting off with the soundtrack, I swear there's only 6 songs in the game. Having one basic battle theme for a JRPG in 2017 is unacceptable. The only song I really digged was the dungeon theme. All the other ones are just okay. So when I reached the alleged 200-hour mark and it was still playing the same songs, I was begging for new ones. There's a pretty big change to the status quo halfway through the game. But going through the world, it doesn't feel really different because they're still playing the same song. Much like this game, Final Fantasy VI has something big happen halfway through the game. And they changed the overworld theme to represent it. You telling me a Super Nintendo game in 1994 can do that, but a f***ing PS4 game in 2017 can't? So, quick correction here. Turns out I was wrong. There is more than one overworld theme. There's actually 3. One plays seemingly only when Hiro leaves his hometown for the first time at the start of the game, and another plays during the post-game that was added in Definitive Edition. I was technically wrong about there only being one overworld theme, but my point still stands because you only hear one throughout the vast majority of the game. Out of protest, I will only be playing one song from the game for the entire review. As I alluded to earlier, I ran into a pretty interesting glitch on the Game Pass version on my Series X. When I put the console into rest mode from Dragon Quest, it would still count the playtime as the console was asleep. I went a few days without playing it, and the playtime legitimately jumped up 70 hours. And it was really affecting the game's pacing for me. It's kind of crazy how much playtime can help with that. It was telling me I was 80 hours in, so I was probably a quarter of the way through. But it just felt like the slowest game on the planet. I thought I was going crazy until I saw it jump from 100 hours to 130 hours in a 15-minute play session. By the time I beat the game, it was telling me I was over 400 hours in, and around the time I stopped playing the post-game, it was almost 500 hours. Definitely my biggest problem with the game, though, is how it doesn't commit hard enough on its concepts. Around 15 hours in, again, super hard for me to tell because of the glitch. It seems like Hiro, his name is Matt, somehow goes back in time by accident. It's later confirmed that everything he did while he was in the past actually happened in the game's timeline. It's a super interesting idea, and if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think the game does the same thing ever again. There is another moment where you do go back in time, but it's different. You're more of a passive observer who can watch in fights. It's not like you're actually going back in time. The one time it does go super hard in on a concept is in the new post story added in Definitive Edition. I don't like it because it f***s with basically all of my favorite moments from the base game. It's really annoying that the one time I think the game goes far enough with something, I don't like where they go with it. It changes the build of your party so much. I would rather it be its own side story thing, like with Future Connect in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And it would help keep your party at the proper level too. I really don't want to grind 25 levels to beat the post-game boss. That's just absurd. Admittedly, I didn't beat the post-game story. I didn't want to do the grind, and I was pretty done with the game at that point. Really not liking the added post-game story in a re-release version of a game isn't enough to ruin it for me, though. When this game gets good, it gets really good. Every 20 hours or so, this game is honestly brilliant. The story with the mermaid and the fisherman was honestly one of the best moments. This being my first Dragon Quest game, I wouldn't expect anything like this from the series. It's a great tragic love story. I really wish the game just went that hard more often. The only other times it really goes that hard is in the midpoint of the game and before the last act of the game. It is honestly perfect in these moments. I just wish they did it more. Everything else I haven't talked about yet is fine. The characters are fine, the story is fine, the world is fine. Everything is just fine. I don't really have that many strong opinions about this game.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
It does suffer pretty hard from what I like to call late party member syndrome. It's where a party member in a JRPG isn't allowed to do anything after the arc you get them in. It's normally reserved for like the last character you add to your party. The entire party just ends up feeling like they're there, and they don't get to do a whole lot outside of their arcs. There's one scene where the game seems like it's trying to develop something between Jade and the hero, but then it just doesn't. I don't know if a side quest dives into it, or if I just forgot something. A lot of the stuff in the game just feels like...
Oh no! Anyway...
The combat's great though. That's something I have a strong positive opinion about. The strategies you can do are great, and the character building is super fun. There's nothing too complicated here, which is refreshing. There's a system in the game where, for lack of a better term, the characters can go Super Saiyan and they can do special moves. It is so exciting when your backs are up against the wall and everyone in the party goes Super Saiyan and you use an extremely powerful attack to win. My only problem with the combat is that the first revive the game gives you has a 50% chance of working, and I lost a good number of fights to it. It's just really annoying when I need to revive the healer, and my other character that can revive only has a 50% revive chance, and I fail it like 2 or 3 times. It's just not a fun way to lose a boss fight. Like, I didn't feel like I got outplayed. I feel like I lost to a dice roll. I can't get too mad at it though. After losing to the final boss because I failed the revive roll twice, on the next attempt, the boss failed the revive roll twice, and I won. I may think those rules are dumb, but at least they're consistent. Oh, and there are points in the game where the level jump is just like a bit too high, and it doesn't help that I feel like the game isn't giving me enough EXP to make the grinding take a reasonable amount of time. I don't like that party members can only use items that are on their person. I would really prefer it if the game just gave everyone full access to my entire inventory. Am I bashing it too much? I swear I enjoyed this game, guys. There's some extra challenge options you can turn on, like NPCs giving bad hints for the moments in the game where you have to actually talk to NPCs to figure out where to go next. It feels like something they would add in a ROM hack of a game. I honestly wish more developers would put in stuff like this in their games, because it makes it way more replayable. I guess my problem with Dragon Quest XI is that outside of a few moments, everything I liked is just good, and the only times I've consistently had strong opinions about the game, it's negative. Happy I played it. It's still a good game, just kind of dated in points. But not really in a bad way. It's a type of JRPG we're not really going to see from any other series Square Enix owns. I would recommend playing it. If you want to get into JRPGs, this is a fantastic starting point. It's pretty simple and doesn't take itself too seriously like most games in the genre. I haven't mentioned it yet, but holy this game is extremely jolly all the way through. I think that's what kept me going throughout the entire game. It was always able to put a smile on my face. Elijah, best boy. If you do like JRPGs, I'd still say give it a shot. Play the 10-hour demo and see if it's for you. If you like Dragon Quest, you've most likely already played it. And if you haven't, you should. I think Ichiban Kasuga might have overhyped the game for me. Maybe I should have played something else between Yakuza 7 and this, because this game does not hold a candle to it in my opinion. I give it a 7 out of 10. It's very inoffensive. I wish the game took more risks. But I'm not done with the series. I'll play 12 when it's released, and I really want to go back and play the older ones. It just seems like a solid, middle-of-the-road DQ game. It didn't blow me away, and it didn't make me hate the series. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. I'm still trying to figure out like a casual review format, so if you guys have any suggestions, please leave it down below. I'm open to hear them. Dislike the video for every single time you missed the roll on the revive, and subscribe for more bad content. Shoutouts to my boy John for letting me borrow his mic. Also shoutouts to TheCamobot for making my thumbnails. Follow him on Twitch. Take care, guys.
It's the best song in the world. It's the only song I like. Just kidding. Tape's been stuck with a player for like 2 years. Better than nothing,
I am so sick of this song.